The crowd is deafening. Flashing lights slice through the smoke. A superstar stands in the ring, arms raised, chest heaving, sweat pouring down his face. He's a god for the night, untouchable, immortal. But what no one sees is the shattered rib under the costume, or the cortisone shot he took in the locker room just to stand upright. The show must go on. It always does. Because in this world, pain isn't a consequence. It's the product. WWE built itself on the illusion of violence, a perfectly crafted ballet of brutality. Chairs crashing, bodies flying, tables splintering on cue. To the audience, it's entertainment. But to the ones in the ring, it's a job that slowly takes everything. Their body, their mind, their soul. Every match is choreographed, sure, but you can't fake gravity when a 6-foot-tall to 150-pound man jumps from the top rope. His knees still absorb the full impact. When a superstar is slammed onto steel steps, there's padding, but there's also bone. And when they're thrown outside the ring, crashing through barriers, tables, ladders, it may be scripted, but the bruises aren't. They tell themselves it's part of the grind, the price of stardom. But over time, the pain stops being part of the performance and becomes the performance itself. Wrestling isn't about avoiding injury. It's about learning how to wrestle through it, to smile through a torn shoulder, to lift a man overhead with a ruptured disc, to take a steel chair shot while concussed, and keep going. Most nights, they don't even know what city they're in. Airports blur into rental cars, hotel rooms into locker rooms. For 300 nights a year, they're traveling, performing, limping back to the hotel. With ice bags and anti-inflammatories, there is no off-season, no break, no moment to pause. Because if they're not on the show, someone else will be. And so, they push through, not just for money, though that's part of it, but for the roar, that electric pop when their music hits. The brief moment where the pain doesn't matter, where they become something more than mortal. But when the lights go off and the fans go home, they're left alone with what's real. Broken fingers, torn knees, stingers in their neck that never quite go away, the slow onset of numbness in their arms, the stiffness that creeps in before they're even 30. But the scariest part isn't what the pain does to the body, it is what it does to the mind. Because when hurting becomes normal, you stop noticing just how much of yourself you're giving away. For every standing ovation, there's a night they don't remember. This is the business of pain. And the most dangerous lie is that it's all pretend. They say wrestlers are some of the toughest athletes alive, and they're right. But toughness comes with a price, a steep, merciless one. You don't survive in this business unless you learn to wrestle hurt. That's the unwritten rule. Sore shoulder, tape it. Bruised ribs, breathe shallow. Torn ACL, wrap it tight and pray the adrenaline kicks in. Because calling out sick isn't just frowned upon. It could cost you your spot. The machine doesn't wait. And the machine is always moving. City to city, arena to arena. There are no breaks, no off-season, no time to heal. A football player might take a month to rehab. A basketball player might sit a season. But a wrestler, he's on the next flight, chasing the next pop. Every day off is a risk, not just to health, but to relevance. So they push through, with cortisone shots in the spine, with painkillers, swallowed like candy, with ice packs taped to every joint. Some even take bumps, those high-impact slams, with fractured vertebrae or herniated discs. Because not showing up means someone else will, and in WWE, out of sight means out of mind. The result, bodies that look invincible under the lights, but are breaking down cell by cell. Wrestlers in their 30s get surgeries most people don't face until their 60s. Knee replacements, hip reconstructions, spinal fusions. Bones grind against each other from years of wear. Cartilage long since gone. Numbness in their hands becomes chronic. Fingers curl inward from nerve damage, and for some, even walking becomes a battle. Then there's the medication. Painkillers are passed around like breath mints in some locker rooms. Because how else do you survive throwing your body on plywood and steel to 100 nights a year? But the pills blur more than pain. They fog the mind. They numb the emotions. And over time, they become the only way to get through the day and the night. Many wrestlers can't sleep without them. Can't get out of bed without them. Some can't stop at all. And when the body breaks down beyond repair, the question becomes, what now? Because when you're not the superstar anymore, when the chants fade and the lights go out, the body doesn't just stop hurting, it screams. And for many, there's no plan B, no pension, no guaranteed safety net, just a pile of medical bills and a body that can no longer do what made them famous. That's the brutal irony of the spectacle. The ones who entertain millions, who flipped, slammed, dove, and bled, are often the ones forgotten when the body finally says no. And yet, ask any of them if they'd do it all again, and most will nod, because for some, the pain was the only part that felt real. He's not the same when he gets home. That's what loved ones say. Spouses, parents, kids. They see the difference. The eyes that don't quite focus. The way he still walks like he's in the ring. The sudden mood swings, the silence, the distance. Because when you spend enough time being someone else, you start forgetting who you are. Every wrestler wears a gimmick, a character built for entertainment. Some are outlandish, others grounded in reality, but all of them are carefully crafted to grab attention, to sell tickets, to live rent-free in a fan's head. But what happens when that gimmick takes over? It doesn't start that way. At first, it's just a switch you flip when the music hits, a mask you wear under the lights. But over time, the lines blur. You start introducing yourself by the character's name. You start reacting the way your persona would, louder, tougher, angrier. Fans chant your catchphrase in airports. People ask for photos while you're eating dinner. Strangers scream insults at you because you're the bad guy. And so you stay in character, because breaking it breaks the illusion. But eventually, you forget how to break it at all. You wake up and feel like the gimmick. You argue like the gimmick. You love like the gimmick. You hate like the gimmick. And that's when it starts to hurt, not just physically, but psychologically. Because the performance doesn't end when the match is over. It stretches into your hotel room, into your relationships, into your self-worth. You're only as valuable as your pop, only as lovable as your last promo, only as alive as your TV time. And when the push stops, when the calls from creative slow down, when the merch sales dip, the question hits hard. Who am I without this character? Many don't have an answer. That's why depression creeps in. Identity crises, anxiety, mood disorders. You've spent so long being a version of yourself that got applause, heat, relevance. You never built a real self underneath. And when you try to return to the man in the mirror, all you see is an echo. Wrestlers have talked about it. The emotional disorientation, the confusion. Some say they felt like ghosts in their own homes. Others admit they didn't know how to talk to their own children without sounding like they were cutting a promo. Some have shared how they drank to turn the gimmick off. Others leaned harder into it until there was no separation left. And yet, the world keeps cheering. The tweets keep rolling in. The spotlight keeps shining. But the person inside, the real one, grows smaller and smaller. Because being a WWE superstar isn't just a job. It's an identity you can never fully take off. They smile for the cameras. They pose with fans. They crack jokes in interviews. But behind closed doors, many of them are fighting a war no one claps for. A war inside their heads. We remember the names: Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, Ashley Massaro, Test, Umaga, Shaq Gaspard, Bray Wyatt. Names that once filled arenas with chants and then headlines with silence, suicide, heart failure, substance overdose, mental health complications. They didn't die in the ring, but the ring never really let go. The business demands a lot, physically, mentally, emotionally, and the hardest battles are the ones fought alone, behind hotel doors and backstage curtains, where there's no script and no audience. Depression doesn't care how big your pop is. Anxiety doesn't care how many titles you've won. PTSD doesn't care how many miles you've flown. These are the shadows that follow superstars through the airports, into their homes, and through every sleepless night. Many of them suffer in silence, because vulnerability isn't part of the gimmick. Showing pain isn't just dangerous, it's forbidden. You're told to toughen up, push through, be a locker room leader. And so they bottle it, the fear, the confusion, the trauma, until it explodes in addiction, in self-harm, in the unthinkable. Some turn to pills, not just for the body, but for the mind. Painkillers blur reality. They take the edge off of more than just sore joints. But the relief is temporary and the spiral is fast. Some mix with alcohol. Others escalate to opioids. And by the time they realize the cliff is coming, they've already jumped. Others isolate. They stop answering calls. They drift from family. The people who once gave everything to fans can't even show up for themselves. And when one of them goes too soon, the reaction is always the same shock morning. A tribute montage with emotional music. But beneath the tweets and hashtags is something darker, a system that lets this happen over and over again. Because the truth is, the show keeps going. Always. There's a tribute on Monday, and by Friday, the storyline resumes. Those left behind, the friends, the spouses, the kids, are the ones who carry the real grief. The ones who watched it unfold but couldn't break through the wall of denial, the silence, the pressure. Some wrestlers have spoken up about depression, about suicidal thoughts, about the way fame creates distance from real help. But for everyone who speaks, there are a dozen who don't, who still believe that talking makes them weak. That silence is strength, that the pain is theirs alone to carry. This section isn't about drama, it's about truth. The truth that under the spotlight, a lot of these stars are slowly breaking, and nobody sees it until it is too late. Because in WWE, the most dangerous matches are the ones no one sees. There's an unspoken rule in the industry: don't talk about it. Not the pain, not the mental breakdowns, not the pills, not the loneliness. Keep the image clean, keep the brand intact, protect the illusion, even if it means sacrificing the truth. For decades, silence was a survival skill. Wrestlers learned early that speaking up could mean losing your push, your merch deals, your airtime, your livelihood. The ones who asked too many questions were quietly written off. The ones who broke down were labeled as weak, and the ones who demanded change, they were just never called back. It is not written in any contract, but every performer knows it. If you expose the business will erase you, and so the silence spreads, even as bodies pile up, even as funerals become annual events, even as wrestlers disappear into rehab clinics. Or worse, there's no union to fight for them, no guaranteed health care, no retirement safety net. The very industry they carried on their backs often walks away the moment they can't carry it anymore. The narrative becomes self-protective. They knew what they signed up for, but did they? Did they know that a job meant to entertain millions would demand lifelong physical damage and emotional trauma as collateral? Did they know that showing up for fans meant not showing up for their own mental health? Did they know that once their body broke, their name would vanish from the script, from the merch, from the collective memory? Some former superstars have tried to speak out, to pull back the curtain, to talk about the toxic culture of silence, but most are met with cold shoulders or subtle blackballing. Their interviews get less attention. Their appearances quietly disappear because the system doesn't reward truth, it punishes it. And yet, the damage is visible. Fans have started asking questions. Documentaries have peeled back the layers. Former wrestlers, broken but brave, are beginning to speak up, not just about their pain, but about the structure that allowed it. Because it's not just about slams and stunts. It's about an industry that glorifies toughness to the point of self-destructs, that trades humanity for spectacle, that smiles for the cameras while silently burying the cost. WWE isn't just a show, it's a machine. And machines don't flinch when parts break. They just replace them. But wrestlers aren't parts. They're people. And people bleed when the cheers fade. Until the silence breaks, until the business admits what it takes, this cycle will continue. And the price will keep getting paid. Embodies die and minds die in lives. The lights are gone now. The theme music is silent. The chants, the pyro, the signs with your name, their memories. Grainy YouTube clips, faded posters in a garage. The show moves on, but your body doesn't. You wake up stiff every morning, like your bones are grinding glass. You reach for the pain meds before coffee. The limp never went away. The shoulder still clicks. You still can't feel half your fingers, and no one's chanting anymore. This is the part they don't show. The after, the years of rehab after retirement. The jobs taken out of desperation. The ring veterans doing indie shows in high school gyms for a few $100 just to feel something again. The autograph signed for nostalgia, not fame. Some can't walk without a cane. Some need surgeries they can't afford. Others are buried in medical debt from injuries the company never covered. Because when you stop being profitable, you stop being protected. Divorces, estranged kids, lost homes. There's a pattern. Not because they were bad people, but because when you give your identity to the business, there's often nothing left to offer your family. You were always on the road, always in pain, always someone else, and when that ends, there's nothing to fall back into, just the silence of who you used to be. Some wrestlers find peace. A few write books, a few coach, a few become cautionary tales on dark documentaries, but most just disappear. Their names only surface when another one goes, when a legend dies too young, when another 10-bell salute echoes in an empty ring, and then, for a moment, people remember. They post clips, they tweet tributes, they say thank you. But the truth is, it should have come earlier, when they We're still hurting, still breathing, still trying to be heard. This isn't a story of villains and heroes. This isn't a takedown. It's a mirror, held up to an industry that runs on pain and calls it passion, that rewards suffering with spotlight, that sells strength but discards the broken. Because behind every entrance music and title belt and crowd pop is a person who bled for our cheers. And when the stage goes dark, what's left? Just a body that's aged 20 years too fast. A mind that never quite stopped performing. A heart that wonders if it was worth it. This is the truth no gimmick can cover. The applause ends, but the pain never does.